Guys, what do we think together? Little audio recording here. We do I'm Trevor, this is my wife Lauren, and we do a podcast called Bloody Disgusting called The Poop Crew, where we interview people. You can check us out on Apple, Spotify, wherever you get your podcasts. So, God, guys, this movie is so exciting. We've had the opportunity to see it once before and be able to see it in the theater. I mean, it plays exactly where you want it to. It is fucking amazing. So, we don't want to take up any more time. We're going to bring him right out now. We've got writer-director Michael Shanks and the stars of the film, real-life husband Alison Brie and Dave Franco coming up. Yeah, here we go. All right, Michael, so you got some explaining to do as far as where the Inception came up from this. I know you said, you've talked about falling in love, transforming you. So where did this whole idea start for you?
Well, it came from the fact that I've been with my long-term partner, I mean, by now, like almost 17 years, but at the time of writing, it was probably closer to about 10 years. And I had this idea, and I told her, hey, I'm thinking of writing a script. And she said, that's upsetting to me. And then she said, but it's a good idea, so you should do it. And that was sort of the jumping off point. Like this idea of exploring like what it means to kind of lose yourself in a relationship. And once I thought of that, I thought that could be a body horror film, and I could just immediately see this premise where I could just fill it with as many kind of like body horror, crazy set pieces, and I was off to the races.
I want to say there's one phrase that caught me in the opening of the film where his brother says, when I die, I don't want someone else's life flashing before my eyes. Was that idea like part of the nucleus of this thing? Because it really captures so much about love's darker edges that we're about to see when we watch this.
Believe it or not, that came from my very sweet mother.
Really?
Yeah.
Dave Franco.
Yeah, I was telling her about this movie, the concept, and she threw that one-liner at me, and I gave it a chance.
Yeah, it was amazing.
So, Michael, once the script was done, how did Alison and Dave come into the picture? Was it always your goal to have a real-life couple?
Well, I guess in a way, like being an independent filmmaker who kind of never had a feature before, my goal was to just like kind of make the movie. The idea of even having access to actors of this quality was kind of incomprehensible to me. You were both on spreadsheets that I had written, like who could play these roles? Thinking that like, oh, maybe like I'll end up playing these roles, I don't know. But I sort of had a chance being with Dave about kind of a different script that I'd written, and knowing Dave had made The Rental, which I was in, I was like, oh, you like horror? I like horror. I actually got this horror script kind of in the bottom drawer, like maybe you should check it out, or who knows? And then from that, Dave read it and gave it to Alison, and it just kind of took off from there.
So, Dave and Alison, you guys have both worked on stuff together many times before. What about this script made it so irresistible that you guys are like, you know what, this is speaking to us?
Well, I mean, it was so bold. It really was these horror set pieces that Shanks is talking about that you guys all just watched. To read them in the script, it was like nothing that I'd seen before. The build of the set pieces was so smooth and steady and unrelenting. And I think we both really responded to the way that it so perfectly and coherently tied back to the themes of fear of monogamy, toxic codependence. You know, none of these horror set pieces are arbitrary. They're all fueling the story and the examination of those themes.
And we figured our real relationship could lend itself to the characters in the movie who have been together for over a decade. And hopefully when you're watching the movie, you can kind of feel like our real history and some weight to their relationship. And then also I wanted to do it with her because it would have been weird to shoot a scene stuck inside of any other actress.
Thanks, honey.
That's it, being real life couple. How did preparation go? You guys, I mean, you could be prepping in the middle of the night, whatever, just look over and start running lines.
We could be prepping right now. You don't even know. You don't even know.
It is true though, and like this movie was shot in 21 days, which is insane because every single day there was heavy prosthetics or insane action sequences. And so the fact that we were obviously living together during the shoot, it allowed us to rehearse as much as we want, knowing that we were only going to get 1 or 2 takes per setup.
Dave, talking about prosthetics, did you see the rat prosthetic before you shot, or was it a surprise to see it when you were digging through that hole?
Pretty much every prosthetic was a surprise, and that's because of how quickly we shot this film. So we were really lucky. We got this guy, Larry, the prosthetics guy, who is like the top guy in Australia.
Bring her back recently, and Furiosa.
Exactly.
He's a genius.
And so he usually works on these much bigger films, but he fell in love with this script and with Shanks, and he was like, all right, I can do this, but I have no time, and so you're not going to be able to see any of this ahead of time. And so every day there was a prosthetic. We were seeing it that morning, and I mean, he killed it every time, and it's truly one of the MVPs of this movie.
It was so crazy, like thinking back, like the kind of like hiker melded creature, like when that arrived for the first shot, it's the first time any of us saw it.
Obviously, it's Michael Shanks. It's a mold of a dead Michael Shanks.
Well, you know, it's something that everybody in my personal life wants to see.
That prosthetic was especially wild because it's basically like, I don't know how many hours that actress had to sit.
It was 4 hours.
4 hours of basically putting this other person on her like a backpack, and she's in an all fours position now for the rest of the day, and then they just like wheeled her in a wheelchair to the set and kind of like dumped her onto the set.
And also shout out again to her, that actress who is not really an actress. She's a development executive from Princess Pictures.
No way!
She is, yeah.
She's a good friend of yours.
Yeah, she was a princess. And like she gave notes on like the script like years before you guys were attached.
What?
Yeah, I didn't know you
What
should
a
go
twist.
Cast.
Yeah. I remember like once you guys came on board, she texted me like, I can't wait to see Dave and Alison snorting lines of diazepam.
That
What do
was
you
a
use for
lot.
that stuff, by the way?
I have
We
no idea.
still don't know.
It felt weird, guys. It felt weird.
The rest of the shoot went all right. Also, the awkwardness of the proposal scene really sets the stage. I mean, when we watch it, we know exactly where this relationship kind of is, and we see the awkwardness and the humor.
Yeah.
It's also terrifying to watch. How important was that for all of you to get that right?
For me, like maybe my favorite TV show of all time is the UK show Peep Show. Everybody seen Peep Show? But like I just like love cringe comedy, like the UK Office, the UK Extras, and Peep Show. So it was kind of like this is just like so kind of my natural proclivity, more in my wheelhouse than horror has been kind of previously.
I feel like that is the scene that we sort of tweaked the most in the edit.
Yes, yeah.
And had to really find exactly that sweet spot of knowing like the audience is laughing with us and it's the right amount of cringe where people don't get too uncomfortable and you're like, and I do feel like in screenings starting right away at Sundance, which was our first time seeing the film with a big audience, that was the moment where the audience broke and started laughing and we all knew like, whoo, they're with us.
Yes, they're on board.
And like playing kind of the dick in that scene, it's like it was a very nuanced thing where it was like there's a version of this and there were versions of it where it's like you can't, as an audience, you can't get past this, like fuck that guy.
Yeah.
And so it really was like kind of
Balancing
finding the
that.
humor in it so you could kind of soften it a little bit.
Shout out to Mia Morrissey, who plays my friend, for adding that great comedic beat of like awkwardly
Yeah.
clapping at the
Yeah.
end. I feel like it's a nice
Save,
release.
yeah.
Yeah.
I wanted to interject I don't want to ask a question right now, but I wanted to interject the, what was I gonna say? I totally lost my train of thought. You go for yours.
So Alison, Millie goes through so much. At the beginning of the film, she's vulnerable, confused, and then she's suddenly fierce. What was the most challenging layer for you to unlock of her?
Oh wow, layer to unlock.
Like the onion.
Layer to unlock. Layer to unlock. I don't know. It's interesting. I do feel like because these two characters, their codependency is at the heart of this story, doing character work for this movie was a challenge. And I remember one time, Dave and I were like out for a walk, and I was like, I'm trying to dig into her, but I'm having a really hard time defining Millie outside of her relationship with Tim. And Dave was like, that's what the movie's about. I was like, oh good, so I am on the right track. I will say, I do think that surprisingly one of the more difficult scenes to film, which is also my favorite scene in the movie, is the bathroom sequence, which, it was my favorite scene in the script. But reading the script and going into the shoot, there were a lot of other scenes that posed greater physical challenges for me and Dave, and we sort of thought, oh, right now it's the bathroom scene, that scene's really fun. But the characters it's just such a tense scene, and there's a claustrophobic energy of being in that stall, and Dave's fake sweat that the makeup artist kept putting on him, he was mashing it into my face, it's so annoying. I do just feel like we finished that day it was one of the more quizzically exhausting days.
Well, it was also so much longer than we scheduled to shoot it. Like, we wanted to shoot that scene, and then we were going to move to a different location to shoot a second scene. We kept being like, same the whole time. And we ended up only shooting that scene that day.
That's right. It is like sort of threading a needle, like in some of the other scenes, like the hallway scene, it was like, guys, let her rip, and we're just flailing around. I mean, not that we didn't block those scenes and stuff, but we could really kind of push the limits. In the bathroom scene, you have said, honey, that it really encapsulates like every tone of the whole movie you can find in that bathroom scene. It's dramatic, it's terrifying, it's shocking, it's funny, it's romantic. So there you have it.
I remember what I was going to ask, that scene reminds me of that too. So the dark humor that is kind of laced throughout this movie, was that something that existed in the script stage, or did the funnier elements kind of come together in post-production where you go, oh, okay, here's what we got, this is actually, we can make it funny?
It was definitely in the script stage. Like, when I sat down to write the script for the first time, I was thinking, like, I'm gonna write Hereditary. I'm gonna write the most, since dark, serious movie. And then as I'm writing it, I'm like, how can I resist, making this, like my background's in comedy, and I kind of, got out of my own way. Like, once the premise takes off, it's so absurd, you'd sort of be just, hurting, it'd be to the detriment to the film to not think about how funny this could be. Even, in, early stuff, when you guys are lost in the woods, and Dave pulls out his phone and doesn't know what to do with the compass app. I'm like, that is realistically something I would do. So, it just, it kind of came from the reality of trying to get at what would characters actually do in the situation.
But I love those moments where we're bickering even when much crazier shit's happening around us, and I think it's very relatable for couples who have been together for a long time, where it's like, we fall into this weird cave, there are church pews in the walls, and she's like, why do you have a lighter? And it's like, that doesn't fucking matter right now.
One of my favorite performance lines in the whole movie is when, towards the kind of the third act, when you're like, I left my keys at Jamie's. And Dave says, why'd you do that? And you say, I didn't do it on purpose. It's so Simpsons-y to me, I love it.
Yeah.
But then even with the humor during some of the horror set pieces, we never wanted to lean into the joke, We wanted the humor to come from the fact that we're experiencing the most bizarre thing you could ever imagine, and we figured the more straight and the more real we played this, the funnier it would ultimately be, and I guess that's kind of how I approach all humor. Next question.
Yeah, for horror in particular, those are great moments at the dip of the roller coaster, right? It puts us all at ease for a second, and that little beat where you're like, don't do anything stupid.
Sure.
Wait for a big thing, it's hilarious.
It's the release valve.
Oh,
you were saying Simpsons? You're talking more about Simpsons?
I'm talking more about Simpsons, sorry guys.
Simpsons.
But I realized so much, because when we watched the film last night at the LA screening, that when you say, Tim, don't you do something stupid, if anybody remembers when Marge says to Homer, don't you eat this pie? And then of course she leaves and he eats the pie, and I'm like, oh shit, I just kind of stole that from the Simpsons.
So Tim's unraveling is physical and bizarre, and it goes all over the place. At times you gotta keep it sympathetic as well. What was the most difficult scene for you to pull off?
Oh God, my body was hamburger meat by the end of this shoot. Every single day I was flailing myself in very unnatural ways. I would come home, we'd take a shower, and I'd be like, babe, God, I just have this like cramp in my ass. And she's like, your entire ass is a bruise. Like, this is, but like, I think about, you know,
And then I take a picture of it. We have a great collage.
We have a nice collage of all my
Dave's
injuries.
bruises. It's really gross.
We'll frame it one day. The shower scene, you know, I'm fully nude, I'm unconscious, and I am throwing my limp body against porcelain walls, and that fucking hurts. But like, you know, there was a version of that every single day, but you know, we were just so excited about the footage we were getting, and it just really felt like we were getting away with something. And so that excitement kind of superseded any pain that we were feeling.
That scene in the shower brings up something that I love about this movie. There's cinematography and camera shots that I've seen in this scene I've never seen anywhere else before. Like the way that drone shot the car as she's driving away, locked into what's happening back in the shower, it's like a ride as an audience member. Or the way when he sips out of the hole in the ground and the camera
that's a
moves
great
and all of a
shot.
sudden we're in an upside down, really everything kind of goes south from there. Or even the fades of when you guys get to that house, right? And with the cover up, you get that jump scare and all of a sudden you wake up. It's almost a whimsical, fairy tale sort of way. Can you talk about just the goal of you and the cinematographer and how you guys built this experience?
So thank you so much, and all credit to our DP, Jermaine McMicken, who not only is an incredible cinematographer, an amazing job. There's hours different.
Also the most even-keeled man I have ever met in my life. We'd be like, we have 27 seconds left to get this final shot, and he'd be like, yeah, go on, you say.
Yeah, well, I was gonna say kind of the same thing. He's just like so relaxed, never raises his voice, and some DPs love to raise their voice. So it was really cool. But like, you know, I storyboarded like the whole film before we shot it. Like to me, that's like as a director, that's my most important thing. Like I could almost go without the script on a day, but I need those storyboards. That's kind of my like Bible of how we're kind of getting what we need to get. And I got really excited by trying to do shots that were kind of challenging. Some of the shot design, honestly, was sort of inspired by some like M. Night Shyamalan stuff. Like you think of the like opening of Unbreakable and like Signs, and there's one scene where I really just aped the cinematography of the village, the scene where Adrian Brody stabs Joaquin. That's how when you get slashed by Jamie. Yeah.
Yes, Shanks would send us sometimes these little inspirational moments from scenes like The Village or X-Men 2.
Oh yeah.
Hard-hitting horror film, X-Men 2.
I think the weirdest pull of like a movie where I'm like, oh, we'll do this was during at the end of the big hallway scene where you guys pass out and there's a close-up of Dave passing out. I had this like elaborate camera shot planned, and the whole like camera department had come up with this rig. So like Dave was gonna fall, and kind of like the camera was gonna be on what we were calling a pivot rig, and he was sort of gonna like be locked in. And we got to the space, and I said it won't fit, it won't work, and I had to kind of like with no time, like how can we do this? How can we do this? Like what's a cool shot of somebody like passing out that we could use? I know, Doom 2005 starring Carl Urban and The Rock. One of my embarrassingly most watched movies. It sucks, but I love it. And there's a scene, you know, like kind of a first person like shooter sequence, like and Carl Urban gets knocked out. And the way that they do it, he gets knocked out and the camera's close to him and just pulls back and loses focus. And I was like, let's just pull back and lose focus, but like 10 times pull back and 20 times lose focus. And that was, I think that was God telling me that my answer was wrong.
We got to talk about the architecture that's used in this movie. It creates a lot of opportunities in lighting and great shots, and that house is a character on its own. Was that something you guys scouted out for those reasons, or did you find it and kind of work with it?
You know, we found that house. Like we shot this in Melbourne, Australia, and the difficulties of shooting in Australia and trying to make it look like America is that kind of terrestrially, like outdoors looks very Australian. This is like gum trees.
Terrestrially? We're all just gonna breeze by terrestrially?
Like the breeze passing through a lovely terrestrial plane.
Okay.
And so like finding woods that didn't look just like gum trees, eucalypts, laden with kangaroos. But the other hard thing was all houses in Australia like are very like Victorian, like very kind of English, very Australian. And this was like the one house we found that answered the brief of looking American and backing onto like a terrestrial environment.
How dare you?
Well, speaking of that terrestrial environment, the cave set is incredible. So tell us about just the construction and the design of that thing.
So our production designer, Nick Dare, he has actually worked on some of the Alien movies as an art designer. What was he? Not a production designer, but a
Art director?
There it
On
is. There it is. Art director.
Prometheus.
Oh, wow.
Ever heard of it?
So anyway, there is
Maybe
definitely
alien covenant. Worthy interjection.
some alien kind of DNA in that cave. But we spent what 90% of our production budget on that.
100%. Like we had to shoot in the house because we just didn't have. I kind of would have loved to have made a set for the house and really like perfectly designed it, but we just didn't have the budget. It all went to the cave, and the bathroom was the other set.
That's
No, not the bathroom with the sex scene, but the shower scene.
Right. I'm just curious about the extended lore of what exactly this substance is. And you talk about Prometheus and Alien. Do you see it as an alien thing? How do you see that this cult kind of found whatever this is? Is it natural?
Yeah, to me, I sort of was thinking of it more as like an eldritch horror, like a kind of like Lovecraftian thing, that it's something not necessarily like, I mean, it could kind of be whatever, because we don't specify it, but like something from deep within the earth, from like the time of the old gods, like the great ones, that's almost like this pustule that's just kind of erupted, and these people have found it. And perhaps there's, other kind of pools from the same ancient well, like across the world. That could be a sequel.
There we go.
Did anybody keep any of the props or prosthetics? And where's the penis?
Well, what I just found out yesterday is apparently they also made a vagina.
Larry came to set that day with a little box. He said,
It was literally a shoebox.
because I don't know exactly what you guys plan on seeing, and opens it up and there's just a lifeless vulva. And that was the most horrifying day on set. Now I'm remembering why the bathroom scene was so troubling.
But for the hair and the mouth sequence, so we shot most of that practically. We were just cramming her hair down my throat, and
You're welcome.
I remember after a certain take, Shanks came up to me and he was like, "Hey, on the next take, maybe don't do like the dry heaving." And I'm like, "I'm not trying to." But anyway, there was one moment that Shanks wanted of violently ripping the hair out of my throat, and that was a little too unsafe for me. So we created basically a bust of me from the chest up, with these kind of levers coming out of the bottom that monitor how much the mouth can open and close. And you would think that maybe Alison and I might take that home, but no, Shanks took it home. It's on his office wall behind him during the Zoom meetings.
Yeah, so every Zoom meeting there's just like a photorealistic Dave Franco going.
I didn't need to take it because I have one at home.
It's such a big part of the experience as an audience too with this film. It's like all the benefits of like the best cinematic tools are on display here. One of those is sound, obviously, right? Like it creates tension and the ripping hair out and everything, and then everything sounds wet. Talk about just developing the sonic personality of this thing, the time spent on it.
Oh, so much time spent. Like it's just like so important. We even in like our like early edits, like kind of like offline edits, if you will, we were just like putting in temp sound, because you've got to then send those edits to the producers and convince them that the movie is good. And if you don't like have like a pretty robust sound design on that, they're not going to enjoy the film. But all credit to Paul Parolo as a sound designer. He did an amazing job. A lot of the bone, like snapping, kind of crackly stuff is actually really close up sounds of cactus fronds being kind of like tweaked. That was a big element. And then there was some sound that was just kind of from like weird places. With the rat screech, we found a rat screech we found this YouTube video that's like 20 minutes of rat in peril. Like it was like they had caught a rat in a trap and just like recorded it going. And we tried every other sound of it, just didn't work for that jump scare. And then we just wrote to that YouTube channel, we're like, "Can we license like 1 second of this video?" And they were like, "No." And we said, "Please," and they said, "Yes."
The score also. What a cool score. I mean, the one of my favorite cues is the bathroom scene, actually, because it does an incredible amount of sounding, making sounding something huge, but also being the soundtrack for something so intense and scary at the same time. That's a lot of heavy lifting to do for the composer.
Yeah.
Elements of folk horror, just awesome.
The score in the bathroom scene, the sex bathroom scene, was the final thing to do. It was the hardest score by far for Cornell to get right. Cornell being a composer who also composed for Bring It Back, Talk to Me, just like iconic Australian composer. My direction to Cornell, because I have a background as a musician, and I wanted, if anybody knows the term glissando, which is the difference, normal pitch would go da da da, and glissando would go because this was thanks for the applause. Because this is a film about people kind of starting as one thing and sort of shifting into something else, I thought it would be cool if the melodies, the pitches themselves were actually kind of sliding in a constant state of sort of transformation. And in that bathroom scene, it's maybe the most glissando in the film, is that it's just sliding all over the place.
What was the balance though? Because I remember maybe originally the score in the bathroom was too romantic, and it was what were you guys trying to figure out there?
It was just really tricky because we kind of wanted you to sort of, in a way, once you know the premise of the film, you could kind of guess where that scene is going to go. And so we were trying to kind of be swirly, and that it was an important moment when we took down your sexual grunts in the score and just let in the soundtrack and let the score take over, because we kind of wanted to sort of have the audience lose themselves maybe in the sex scene, so that they kind of forget to predict why is the sex scene here in this horror movie about stickiness, what's gonna happen.
Right. One of the greatest scenes too in the cave, when you guys kind of first go down there, you start doing that heavy breathing thing, that whole sequence, and the cave's breathing with you, and then you're taking kind of in your inner head voice, and you're hearing it inside your own head as an audience member, and then you look over and she's doing that thing. I would imagine doing it on the day, it might feel weird as an actor, but seeing it after stuck together with everything.
Definitely. So I remember the first take. So I'm breathing with the cave, and I was breathing pretty kind of exaggerated, where I was and I remember mid-take you started laughing at me. Do you remember this?
I remember this. Just keeping you honest, babe.
And you were, because I was overdoing it. But yes, it felt very silly, and I'm glad my wife keeps me in check.
Well, it felt kind of silly to kind of be there in general, not because of the performance, but because the wind effect, because as you breathe out, wind goes through your hair, was just a leaf blower, which is sort of going.
That's right. That's
So
right.
even doing the edit, having the onset sound was just so stupid.
And it was something where, remind me that it was a long process, or there was something annoying about the parts of the cave when you see the close-up shots of the cave breathing.
Yeah.
That was a practical effect, and I just do remember that on the day we were it doesn't look great. It's not working, it doesn't look great.
Yeah.
But in the edit,
It was
it
bad.
really worked.
Well, the thing was,
Why?
it's very technical. They built a series of bladders around this sort of cuff of the cave that could be inflated, and when they hey, we're on the day, we're showing you how it works, and I was has it started? And they were we've been doing it for 10 minutes. It was just so weak and awful. So the plan was to kind of shoot it more from a wide, showing the whole thing, but then we isolated the bladders, and the air pressure was enough to inflate each bladder. So that the scene wasn't storyboarded with those close-ups of the cave. We were kind of supposed to be kind of panning around it, but we had to isolate one by one and just go, this bladder, okay, this bladder, okay.
I think it's a happy accident. I
Me too,
love
yeah.
those shots, and they really feel like a human body and a chest breathing. I think it's really effective.
Was there a favorite moment on set for each one of you guys?
Favorite moment on set? He said for each one of you guys. So I was just clarifying. I mean, I loved shooting the hallway sequence. We shot it over 2 days, and the first day was nearly all Dave, because we used a contortionist double to do that first half of my side of the cave. I can't backbend that deep, it turns out. I've tried. And meanwhile, while Dave was up there shooting, I was like drinking a really strong coffee downstairs and losing my mind and like.
You can't feed her coffee after noon because she turns into a little gremlin.
But the hair and makeup gals knew that and thought it was really funny, so they would always be egging me on, be like, "We got you another coffee." So it was just like, in my mind, those days in the hallway, it was like a mix of bits for me with the crew, coming out, also getting to stand next to Shanks by the monitor, troubleshoot things that are going on. My big my special effects cameo is the shot of Dave coming down the hallway, and you see his body start to move before he pulls up his shirt and his stomach is moving, and Shanks was like, "It feels like we should see his shirt moving before we're gonna pull it up and reveal that the skin is moving." And I was like, "I can do it." And I like slid into the hall, lying on the ground next to camera, put my hand under Dave's shirt, and that's what's in the movie. A little of this.
If we tilted down, we would just see wrist.
I don't know if this is my favorite moment, but it's the weirdest moment. Basically, for the Saw scene, that entire day, Alison and I were connected with the prosthetic, where we could not leave each other's side for 10 hours.
And the prosthetic was quite sensitive. Like, we truly had to take small steps. We couldn't even, if we pulled it too far, it would kind of disintegrate.
Yeah, so we were really trying to avoid water, so we wouldn't be going to the bathroom too often, but inevitably one of us would go, and we would take the other one with us, and,
What was your favorite moment?
I didn't say favorite, I said weirdest.
Golden shower king. What? I'm learning your game 13 years in.
I'm just trying to surprise you, keep things fresh.
Okay, honey, I'm game.
We're gonna move on to Shane.
My favorite moment on set was probably when Dave and Alison invited me to watch them pee. My favorite, the thing that sticks out to me was when we were shooting the hair and the throat scene, and like the first time we shot, like the camera's so close up and a light comes up, and Dave was like, "Oh!" It was just so crazy, and I was cackling after every take. I was like, I can't believe people are letting me fucking do this. So silly.
Shooting that scene was especially gratifying because there had been some voices at the script stage who wanted us to cut that scene just for budgetary reasons. I think they were looking through and going, it would be helpful if we could cut one of the set pieces. This is kind of the first one, or this would be an easy one to lose.
Well, also they said like, "Oh, we've seen this before." Like, there's like a hair scene in like The Grudge. I'm like, "You haven't seen this before. What are you talking about?"
So Shanks really fought for the scene. We all fought for the scene, and all the producers who were on set that night were like, "It's cool. You're right. You guys are right. It's cool."
I literally, we were filming it upstairs, and the producers were like, "Stay away from set. You're downstairs."
You're in the
And
backyard.
I ran down after one take and went up to them and said, "Fucking see."
I know we're coming to the end, but I wanted to ask, were there any scenes that were shot that didn't make the cut?
I don't think so. I mean, it was such a low budget film for like the ambition of it. We only had 21 days that there were scenes that were written that were cut before we were on set. It was like, we had to be so judicious with how we spent the tiny amount of money that we had. So there were a couple of scenes that I'd written that I wish we had shot. But I mean, the movie's actually like fine without it. But nothing, every piece of the animal was used. Every bit of footage was there.
I was suddenly remembering last night at the premiere that the scene in Tim's office where he's on the computer and I slam into the glass doors was originally written where he's outside.
Oh, that's right.
He goes like walking into the woods. There was a whole, it still was always going to be me slamming into glass and kind of like smearing around and mimicking his, but it was longer and much more elaborate. And again,
and it was outdoors at night, and so from a scheduling point of view, that meant we had to shoot at night, and that caused all sorts of problems.
But it is one of those things that this is what I love about independent film, that I feel like often these parameters that end up being forced upon you for budgetary reasons force everybody to get really creative. And the three of us kind of put our heads together and we're sort of like, what if it was really contained? What if we did it like this? And like, I mean, that I think it's the best scare in the movie. I love that scene.
Yeah, it's good. You actually unlocked a memory for me, which is when filming that scene, we were doing that close up of your feet. Whoa! As you get
Close up of, he said close up of my feet.
Close up of your feet, and you were on this like crane winch that was just gently lifting
It
it
was
up.
like a swing. I told them I could hold a pull-up for the duration of the shot, and nobody believed me. And I can, but they were like, we built this whole thing. Would you just sit on it and let us like teeter-totter you into the air? And I was like, okay.
Yeah, it was fun. But I remember we did like the first take, and then you kind of like sort of looked at camera and said like, "This is a shot for my wiki feet."
Am I wrong?
If you guys believe that this is Michael's debut feature film, it's incredible! So here's what you gotta do. Since you're among the first to see this thing, July 30th, right? You gotta go together.movie on Instagram. You tag the shit out of that and tell everybody how fucking good this is and what you're trying to say.
But don't release these videos until it comes out. We don't want to spoil it.
That's right. No spoilers.
Remember when you called me Golden Shower King?
That's my new nickname for you.
All right, everybody, give it up for Alison Dave. Guys, I'll tell you what. Everybody can stay in their seats for another 5 minutes. We got some homework to take care of outside, so yeah, we appreciate it so much.
Thank you guys.
Thanks so much.